Okay, Yulei, let's take a look at your answer. As one of the most popular lingua francas, don't you think we need to define lingua franca here? English has become an international language and attracts more and more people to learn it. Okay, that's true. You could give some statistics about how English has grown. That would be a lot more interesting to read and use a reference. This leads to a voice comes out from native speakers that they should decide a kind of so-called proper English. I don't think there's ever been a voice coming out from native speakers that they should decide a kind of so-called proper English. You shouldn't focus on the people, but you should focus on the argument. It's a philosophical argument, not an argument that people actually have. So the question is, who decides what proper English is? Now there are so many English speakers in the world. Is it right for native speakers to decide, or is it more of an organic thing that should be decided maybe among all English speakers in the world? It's not really that I, as a native English speaker, am annoyed that Indians use English differently to me, and I think they should use it my way. That's not really the issue. Try to be more objective about it. Okay, native speaker, does it need, I don't know if it needs a definition there. I think it's quite clear what a native speaker is. So it seems to be a natural thing for first language users. Why is it a natural thing? Here you have so, and here you've got someone who's learned a language as a first language, so it seems natural. This is a kind of, so shows that the previous thing is a reason, but the reason for your idea that it's a natural thing is not there, okay? So you need to explain that a little bit more. Yeah, the reality is there are more non-native speakers using English than natives. This might be something you can reference. Okay, so now you're saying they have more decision-making rights, and they're all wondering what proper English is. Well, that sounds like if they're all wondering what proper English is, then somebody needs to decide. It is really difficult, okay, that's not good academic style, to define proper English, as there is no standard of what proper should be. This seems to be the problem in your essay, not really the answer to your essay. And is this your thesis? They may have more decision-making rights? Okay, no, they may have, so. The first aim of this essay is to explain proper English does not exist. The other is to discuss the native English speakers. Okay, so you've got, your outline has two things. Both of them are also your thesis. But it means that you're not actually discussing the other side, which is a shame. Because that would be a one-sided essay, and there's actually two sides to this essay. One side is that native speakers should decide on what proper English is, and also you do need to define what proper English is. And the other is that native speakers should not decide what proper English is. So I think you need to talk about both of those positions. You can give your thesis at the beginning, and you should, but you should also make sure that you consider the counter-arguments. And you also need to consider the implications. If native English speakers have no right to decide what happens to the English language, then is it still going to be the English language? It's going to develop into something else, and it's no longer going to be a lingua franca between native English speakers and non-native English speakers. We've already seen a big change in Indian English and Singaporean English. And if there's no standard, doesn't that mean that people from Singapore and India will no longer be able to communicate with each other because their styles of English are so different that they're mutually inaccessible? So think about the implications of your view as well. It seems you've taken a democratic idea that numbers are the important thing. But is it only numbers that are the important thing, or are there other things that are also important regarding this question? I'm not trying to tell you what the correct answer is. I'm just trying to encourage you to think about the different sides of the problem. Okay, so overall, it's quite well written. You've got one reference. I feel like you should have a few more. I think you have brought out the difficulties in deciding what proper English is, and this is a very difficult question. But the question knows that it's a difficult question. It doesn't really need you to repeat it again. If you could summarize the two positions on this, and I think if you look at some of the literature, you'll find there are two positions. If you could summarize those in terms of position, maybe mention some people who believe that English as a lingua franca should be decided by majority, and another position that says that natives as in British grammarians, American grammarians, Australian grammarians should decide on what is proper for their own country, and that should be a standard for other people. It'd be good if you could include both of those perspectives. And you do need to discuss two sides here, not just one side. Okay, Sasha. It's the past, which means that Scottish decided. Okay, decided, so you've got your grammar there, that's fine. Decided to be an independent country or not. If you have or not, then you need whether. So which means that the Scottish decided whether. Okay, and I think, yeah, Sean pointed it out. Scottish cannot be a country because Scottish are the people. So you need to rewrite that sentence. The Kingdom of Scotland existed before 1707. Okay, you need a reference for that, because I assume you read it somewhere. Till is a bit more casual, and actually it's grammatically incorrect. You don't need to tell us that Scotland is still part of the UK. I think we know that. But it is good that you've got this referendum information.
I'm sorry. Do you know where is Clara?
I don't. Are you supposed to meet in this room?
No.
Okay, so no, I don't know where Clara is. I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of recording. Okay, Scotland could not be a nation. At this time, Scotland could not be a nation because of many obstacles that SNP failed. Well, Scotland is a nation. Nation means country, and it is a nation. I don't know if nation is what qualifies Scottish independence. Sovereign nation, maybe. This is a complicated way of saying it. And of course, you're telling us what we already know as well. So again, the question is, should Scotland be independent? And there are arguments for Scottish independence, and there are arguments against Scottish independence. And you should be outlining these arguments, and then saying what your perspective is and what you're going to argue in the essay, or what you're going to argue in the essay and what your perspective is. Pros and cons, plural. So that is singular. You've got a problem here. Okay. You've got your aim or your thesis here. But then this seems to be more facts. It doesn't seem to be your outline. So that seems a bit strange. Okay, this is not a proper outline, so look at the examples you've been given, the capital punishment essay, the business ethics essay. and look at how they give the outline and the thesis. You haven't done that very well in this section. Overall, you seem to have done the things that I recommended you do. So the structure is okay, but the content is a little bit soft. I think you should look at the arguments, not just the fact that there was a referendum, okay? There are two sides to this question. And you look at some of these down below, but you need to discuss both sides, not just only one side, which it looks like it might be what you're doing, okay? Look at it like the capital punishment essay, give counter-arguments, rebut them, if possible. Not all of the counter-arguments can be rebutted. There are some very good reasons for Scottish independence, and they should be recognised, so don't try to rebut everything. Okay, but overall it's well written. There's a few grammar mistakes, but there's some good stuff here as well. And you've got a reference. Only one reference, though. It would be better to have a few more. Get used to using a lot of references. Good point there by Sean. You can give evidence about why the SNP failed, but it's difficult to say why Scottish people voted against independence. The analysis of that will be coming out, but it's difficult to ever know why something happened unless people give their reasons with their votes. Okay, good point, spelling. Yeah, and I think Sean's right, it is quite good writing. Okay, let's look at Zaynaf. In order to understand the main reasons for and against Scottish independence, one should refer to historical events. Okay, it sounds posh. The use of one is generally used by the upper classes, but it's still a personal pronoun, and we should avoid personal pronouns in academic writing. And do we really need to refer to historical events which led to the formation of Scotland and the United Kingdom to understand the question of Scottish independence? Perhaps we need a reason why these things are important before you tell us some historical facts. It'd be nice if we knew the reason for the historical facts before we read them. Okay, it was founded in 1843, you need a reference for this, and the fact that it was a friendly ally, you probably need a reference for that as well. Signed, yeah, that's right. Again, you need a reference for this. Highly desirable for both sides, you need a reference for this. Keen to ensure Scotland did not go under a different monarch. Yes, you need a reference for this as well. Okay, so you're missing references for the entire section above the point that I'm touching here. I guess that all of that came from one source, so you need to actually synthesize that from different sources, ideally, or say who told you that. So you might need some integral referencing there. Okay, you need a reference to that as well, because I think that's something you read somewhere. Need a reference for that. Okay, this is what I predicted. The writing's very good, the English is very good, a little bit better than the other writing I've seen of yours, so I'm a little bit suspicious as to where you got all of this from. It looks like you've paraphrased a native English-speaking source. You may have paraphrased more than one, but you've got plagiarism because you obviously got these facts from somewhere and you didn't reference them, and you absolutely must. Your outline is good. But you're looking at the drawbacks and consequences of Scotland as an independent state. It doesn't tell us what your position is, and it doesn't quite tell us that you're going to look at two sides of the argument. So you might want to review your thesis and outline. And yeah, I don't know that we do need all of that historical fact. I think that we need a broad description of the argument for independence and the argument against independence. Overall, as I said, the writing style is very good, very fluent, very good English. But is this the way you normally write? I'm not quite sure how you managed to get it so error-free. It doesn't need to be error-free. It's better that it's, your own work, paraphrased. I expect to see some mistakes. Possibly if you reference your sources, it would be better here. It will be discussed is not correct grammar. In addition to that, the essay will also discuss is a way to improve that. Okay, so overall, very, very good writing, but a problem with integration of sources. Considering everything we've looked at, I would expect you to have quite a few sources referenced between here and here. Yes. Rucklin has nailed it. Well done, Rucklin. I like your style for giving advice there. Good point. Okay, some very good advice and a good example of good English writing that will probably be accused of plagiarism. Okay, so you definitely need to rewrite that with references before you hand it in. And same for the rest of your essay as well. Okay, let's take a little break and then we'll take a look at the rest.